They never told you that one simple leaf, something that may already be sitting quietly in your kitchen or growing unnoticed in a garden nearby, could be influencing 3 of the biggest changes people fear as they get older: inflammation in the joints, visible aging in the skin, and the blood sugar swings that slowly wear down the body from the inside out. And perhaps the most frustrating part of all is this: the science behind these plants is not new. In many cases, it has been sitting in medical literature for years, even decades, while millions of older adults have been told directly or indirectly that feeling stiff, inflamed, tired, and metabolically unstable is simply what aging looks like. I do not believe that. I am a vascular biologist, physician, and author. And today I want to talk with you about something so simple that many people dismiss it before they ever give it a fair chance. Medicinal leaves steeped in hot water and used consistently as tea. Not magic, not hype, not a miracle cure, just targeted plant compounds that can support the body in ways that become especially meaningful after 60. A landmark study discussed by researchers at the University of Maryland Medical Center pointed to the power of certain plant-based compounds when prepared properly and used consistently to reduce inflammatory markers in older adults by as much as 47% over the course of 8 weeks. 47%. That is not a slogan printed on a supplement bottle. That is the kind of number that makes scientists pay attention. Now, before we begin today's countdown, I want to ask you something personal. What is the one quiet health struggle you are dealing with right now? Maybe it is your knees when you first stand up in the morning. Maybe it is your skin feeling thinner, drier, older, almost overnight. Maybe it is that unsettling moment at your annual checkup when your doctor says your blood sugar is a little higher than last year. Those moments matter. They are not vanity. They are not weakness. They are signals. Today we are counting down from number 5 to number 1. 5 leaves you can steep in hot water and drink as tea, ranked from deeply helpful to potentially life-changing when used wisely and consistently. And I want to tell you right now, the leaf at number 1 is not the one most people expect. It is simple, inexpensive, widely overlooked, and far more powerful than its ordinary appearance suggests. So stay with me, because by the time we reach number 1, you may want to send this to someone you love. Let's begin. Number 5, olive leaf. Do not let the number 5 ranking fool you, because this leaf alone could change the way many people over 60 feel when they wake up in the morning. Most people know olive oil. They know the Mediterranean diet. They have heard that olives are heart healthy, that extra virgin olive oil belongs on salads, vegetables, and good bread. But almost nobody talks about the leaf of the olive tree, and that silence is costing people comfort, mobility, and metabolic resilience every single day. Olive leaf contains a remarkable compound called oleuropein. And if scientific names tend to make your eyes glaze over, let me translate what that means in plain language. Think of oleuropein as a calming signal for a body that has become too reactive, because that is one of the hidden realities of aging. Inflammation changes with age. When you are young, inflammation is often a short-term, useful response. You twist an ankle, get a cut, fight off an infection, and inflammation shows up to help. But as the body ages, inflammation can stop behaving like a temporary visitor and start acting like a permanent house guest. It lingers, it overstays, it creates background noise in the immune system that the body never fully shuts off. Researchers in Spain, including work associated with the University of Granada, reported that olive leaf compounds were linked with meaningful reductions in inflammatory activity, including markers such as C-reactive protein. In one controlled setting involving older adults, reductions around 28% were observed over a period of weeks. That matters because C-reactive protein is one of the body's alarm bells. When that signal stays elevated, the whole system feels it. And here's why this becomes especially important after 65. As people age, baseline levels of inflammatory molecules, such as interleukin-6, tend to rise. You may not feel interleukin-6 directly. You do not wake up and say, "My interleukin-6 is acting up today." But you do feel the consequences. You feel it when your hands seem slower in the morning. You feel it when your knees resist stairs. You feel it when your back takes longer to loosen, when recovery takes longer, when every ache seems to have a little more weight behind it. Oleuropein has been studied for its ability to influence these inflammatory pathways. And that is what makes olive leaf more than just another herbal tea. It is not about numbing discomfort. It is about helping calm some of the chemical signals that make aging joints feel older than they truly are. Now let's talk about something many people never connect to inflammation: the face in the mirror. Skin aging is not only about sun exposure or moisturizers. A large part of visible aging is structural. It is about collagen integrity. Collagen is the scaffolding that keeps skin supported, resilient, and firm. Over time, inflammatory stress and oxidative damage activate enzymes that begin breaking down that scaffolding. Some researchers describe these enzymes almost like microscopic scissors snipping through the support system that keeps skin from sagging and thinning. Olive leaf polyphenols have been studied for their ability to help protect tissue from that kind of degradation. In other words, the benefit is not just about how the skin looks. It is about what is happening underneath the surface. To prepare olive leaf tea, use about 2 grams of dried olive leaf, roughly a small palmful. Pour over about 200 milliliters of hot water, but do not use water that is aggressively boiling. Let the water cool for a minute or 2 after boiling. Then steep the leaves for 10 to 12 minutes. Strain and drink. If your goal is inflammation support and morning mobility, the best time to drink it is often before breakfast, when the body is already shifting into its active daytime rhythm. And if you want to enhance absorption in a simple, practical way, add a small pinch of turmeric or a little black pepper. Compounds in black pepper, especially piperine, may help improve the bioavailability of certain plant polyphenols. It is a tiny adjustment, but sometimes tiny adjustments are exactly where transformation begins. Olive leaf is number 5, not because it is weak, but because what comes next becomes even more targeted. Because number 4 is about something happening inside the bloodstream after meals. Something millions of older adults are experiencing every day without realizing how much damage it may be doing. Number 4, mulberry leaf. I want you to imagine a woman named Margaret. Margaret is 72 years old. She is careful. She is not reckless with her health. She walks regularly, tries to eat reasonably well, and has spent years doing what she believed were the right things. And yet, at her latest appointment, her fasting blood sugar is creeping upward. Not dramatic, not catastrophic, just high enough for her doctor to mention the words pre-diabetic range. That moment terrifies people, because what makes it so unsettling is not just the number. It is the feeling that your body may be changing the rules on you, that what used to work no longer works, that aging has quietly rewritten your metabolism while you are busy living your life. What many people do not understand is that after 60, and especially after 65, post-meal blood sugar spikes become more dangerous. The pancreas may respond more slowly. Muscle tissue may become less responsive to insulin. Glucose stays in the bloodstream longer after meals. And when that happens over and over again, it does not just affect diabetes risk. It affects the blood vessels. It affects inflammation. It affects energy. And yes, it affects skin aging too. Mulberry leaf contains a naturally occurring compound often referred to as DNJ, short for 1-deoxynogramycin. And this compound has a fascinating effect in the digestive system. Think of the enzymes in your small intestine like gatekeepers. Their job is to break carbohydrates down and release glucose into your bloodstream. In many older adults, those gates effectively swing wide open after a meal, especially after bread, rice, pasta, sweets, or other starch-heavy foods. The result is a rush of glucose that the body struggles to handle smoothly. D&J helps slow that process down. Instead of allowing sugar to flood the bloodstream all at once, mulberry leaf compounds appear to partially slow the breakdown and absorption of carbohydrates. Research has shown meaningful reductions in post-meal blood sugar spikes, and in one study setting involving older adults, decreases around 44% were reported after carbohydrate-rich meals. That is not trivial. That is the difference between a metabolic roller coaster and a much steadier ride. And when blood sugar becomes steadier, the benefits do not stay confined to the lab report. One of the most underappreciated drivers of visible aging is a process called glycation. Glycation happens when excess sugar molecules attach to proteins such as collagen and elastin. Over time, this makes tissues stiffer, weaker, and older looking. The skin loses bounce, the texture changes, fine lines deepen. The body quite literally becomes less flexible at a molecular level. So when mulberry leaf helps soften the post-meal sugar surge, it may also be helping protect the skin's structural proteins from one of the most common forms of age-related damage. And then there is energy. Many people think their afternoon crash is just normal aging. They think that heavy, foggy drop in energy at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon is simply part of being older. Often it is not. Often it is unstable blood sugar followed by a stress hormone response followed by fatigue. That cycle repeats for years, and people blame the calendar when they should be examining the chemistry. To prepare mulberry leaf tea, use 3 to 4 grams of dried mulberry leaf. Pour over hot water that has been allowed to sit off the boil for about 90 seconds, then steep for around 8 minutes. Timing matters here. This is a tea that works best when used 20 minutes before your largest carbohydrate-containing meal of the day. If lunch is when you have rice, bread, or potatoes, drink it before lunch. If dinner is your biggest starch-heavy meal, use it before dinner. And here is a simple addition that makes practical sense. A squeeze of fresh lemon juice. The acidity brightens the flavor, and the combination of lemon's natural compounds with mulberry's polyphenols may support absorption and make the tea easier to enjoy consistently. Because consistency is the real secret. Not perfection, not obsession, consistency. One of the reasons simple plant remedies are underestimated is that they do not feel dramatic. There is no commercial soundtrack, no expensive packaging, no sense that you are doing something advanced. But when a plant gently changes what happens after every meal, twice a day, week after week, the effect can become substantial. Mulberry leaf earns number 4 because it targets one of the most destructive yet invisible processes of aging. Repeated blood sugar spikes that quietly damage blood vessels, tissues, and energy levels. But what comes next works at an even deeper level. Because number 3 is not just about inflammation or glucose. It is about the tiny energy factories inside your cells and what happens when they begin to fail with age. If you are getting value from this, take a second to subscribe and like the video. It truly helps this information reach the people who need it, especially older adults who are tired of being told that decline is the only story aging has to offer. Number 3, lemon balm leaf. Here is one of the biggest misconceptions about aging. People think they are slowing down because they are getting older. But very often they are slowing down because their cells are producing energy less efficiently. That difference matters. Inside nearly every cell in your body are structures called mitochondria. You can think of them as microscopic power plants. Their job is to convert food and oxygen into usable energy. Every tissue depends on them. Muscles, joints, skin, brain, blood vessels, all of it. As the decades pass, mitochondrial efficiency tends to decline. Some estimates from aging research suggest that this drop can be significant by the time a person reaches their 70s. And when mitochondria become less efficient, three things often happen at once. The body produces less energy, generates more oxidative waste, and becomes more vulnerable to inflammatory signaling. This is one reason aging can feel like such a broad, vague experience. It is not just one body part. It is everything feeling a little dimmer, slower, and more fragile than it used to. This is where lemon balm leaf becomes so interesting. Lemon balm, a member of the mint family used since ancient times, contains rosmarinic acid, a compound studied for its antioxidant and calming effects. Research has linked rosmarinic acid with reductions in oxidative stress markers. And in one study context involving older adult cells, oxidative stress improvements around 39% were observed, along with better mitochondrial membrane potential. That phrase sounds technical, but the idea is simple. The cell's energy machinery functioned more cleanly and more efficiently. Why does that matter for joints? Because cartilage cells, called chondrocytes, are highly dependent on healthy cellular energy production. When these cells are stressed, they produce more inflammatory signals and become less capable of maintaining the tissue around them. Over time, this contributes to the stiffness and wear that people accept as inevitable. But the story does not stop at the joints. Lemon balm is also deeply relevant for people whose stress has become physical. You know the kind of stress I mean. Not always panic, not always drama. Sometimes it is quiet stress. The kind that sits in the body. The kind that keeps you alert at night. The kind that makes your shoulders tense and your sleep shallow. The kind that raises cortisol just enough night after night to affect how you feel the next morning. That matters more than most people realize. Higher evening cortisol can disrupt sleep quality, increase next morning blood sugar instability, and amplify inflammatory signaling. In older adults, even subtle chronic stress can snowball into worse recovery, worse energy, worse glucose control, and more visible aging. Lemon balm has been studied for its ability to support calm and help reduce stress-related physiological activation. In a randomized controlled context, reductions in salivary cortisol around 18% were reported, along with better perceived calm and improved sleep-related outcomes. Now think about what that means in real life. Better sleep means better glucose regulation the next morning. Better glucose regulation means less glycation. Less glycation means less stress on collagen. Less inflammatory stress means less strain on joints and blood vessels. A calming herb is never just a calming herb. In the aging body, it may be participating in an entire biological chain reaction. To prepare lemon balm tea, use 2 to 3 grams of fresh or dried lemon balm leaf in about 250 milliliters of hot water. Steep for 6 to 8 minutes. This is best used in the evening about an hour before bed, when your body is naturally supposed to be shifting away from daytime alertness. The flavor is one of the reasons this tea is so easy to stay consistent with. It is mild, slightly lemony, fresh, and naturally pleasant. For an added layer of synergy, include a small sprig of rosemary or even a pinch of dried rosemary in the steep. Rosemary also contains valuable polyphenols, and together they create a broader antioxidant profile that may support cellular resilience. Lemon balm takes number 3 because it reaches beyond symptoms and into the energetic core of the cell itself. It is not just about feeling relaxed. It is about helping the body recover the conditions under which healing is even possible. Now we move to number 2. And this one may already be sitting in your kitchen cabinet, overlooked, dried, and forgotten between the spices. Number 2, bay leaf. Bay leaf may be one of the most underestimated medicinal leaves in the modern kitchen. Most people know it as the thing they toss into soup and then remove before serving. An aromatic extra, a background note, something the recipe calls for but no one thinks much about afterward. That is a mistake, because hidden inside those simple dried leaves are compounds with meaningful effects on inflammation, blood sugar regulation, and metabolic stress. especially in people whose bodies are becoming less forgiving with age. Let's begin with blood sugar, because this is where bay leaf becomes genuinely impressive. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Biochemistry and Nutrition followed people with type 2 diabetes who consumed 1, 2, or 3 grams of bay leaf daily for 30 days. Compared with placebo, the participants using bay leaf showed significant improvements. In the higher intake group, fasting blood sugar dropped by around 26%. LDL cholesterol also improved, and protective HDL cholesterol increased. Those are not decorative changes. Those are the kinds of shifts that get attention. What may be happening here is that bay leaf polyphenols help improve insulin receptor sensitivity. In plain language, insulin works like a key, and the receptor on the cell works like a lock. Over time, through aging, repeated sugar surges, and metabolic strain, those locks become less responsive. The key is still there, but the door does not open as efficiently. Bay leaf appears to help those locks work better. And when cells respond more effectively to insulin, glucose can move out of the bloodstream and into tissues more smoothly. That means fewer harsh spikes, less metabolic turbulence, and lower exposure to the kinds of sugar-related damage that age blood vessels and skin. Now let's connect that to inflammation. Bay leaf contains compounds such as eugenol and a range of antioxidant polyphenols. These compounds are studied for anti-inflammatory effects and may help reduce some of the chemical signaling associated with tissue irritation and oxidative burden. In practical terms, that can translate into support for the same systems older adults often complain about first: joints, energy, digestion, and general post-meal heaviness. There is also another angle that almost never gets discussed: the skin's microbiological environment. As skin ages, it becomes thinner, more reactive, and more vulnerable to imbalance. Bay leaf has documented antimicrobial and antifungal properties, which is one reason it has been traditionally valued in so many cultures. That does not mean it is a cosmetic miracle. It means it may be supporting skin health from a broader inflammatory and microbial perspective, rather than from a purely superficial one. This is one of the themes I want you to remember throughout this countdown. The body is connected. You do not have a joint problem over here, a skin problem over there, and a blood sugar problem somewhere else in complete isolation. The same inflammatory chemistry, oxidative stress, glycation, vascular strain, and hormone signaling can influence all three at once. That is why a humble leaf can have surprisingly broad effects. To prepare bay leaf tea, use 3 to 4 whole dried bay leaves with about 300 milliliters of cold water in a small pot. Bring it to a boil together. This detail matters. Starting with cold water and heating the leaves gradually may allow for a richer extraction than simply pouring boiling water on top. Once it reaches a boil, reduce to a simmer for about 5 minutes. Then remove from heat, cover, and let it steep for another 8 minutes before straining. If your priority is blood sugar support, drink bay leaf tea 15 to 20 minutes before your 2 largest meals. If your main concern is inflammation and morning stiffness, a cup earlier in the day may be especially useful. And now for one of the simplest and most effective pairings in this entire video. Add a 1/4 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon and 2 or 3 thin slices of fresh ginger. Not cassia cinnamon if you can avoid it. Ceylon cinnamon is preferable for regular use. Ginger brings gingerols. Cinnamon brings its own insulin-supportive compounds. Bay leaf brings polyphenols and aromatic actives. Together, they create a tea ritual that supports inflammation, digestion, circulation, and blood sugar all at once. In many homes, that combination costs less than a single packaged drink from the store. Bay leaf is number 2 because it is accessible, practical, and unexpectedly powerful. But number one takes the top spot for a different reason. It is not just about one pathway. It is not just about one symptom. It is about a leaf that appears to touch the blood sugar system, oxidative stress, and the visible signs of aging in a way that feels quietly comprehensive. Number one, sage leaf. Yes, sage leaf. This same herb many people associate with holiday cooking, stuffing, or savory dishes may deserve far more attention than it gets, especially from adults over 60 who are trying to age with strength, steadiness, and clarity. Sage does not look dramatic. It is soft, dusty green, ordinary, almost modest. But that is exactly why it gets overlooked. People assume that powerful remedies must arrive in expensive bottles or sophisticated packaging. Meanwhile, one of the most interesting leaves for aging support has been sitting in kitchens for generations. What makes sage special is not that it dominates one single mechanism. It is that it shows up across several of the mechanisms that matter most in aging: oxidative stress, blood sugar regulation, inflammatory load, vascular strain, and the preservation of tissue resilience. In studies on sage tea and sage compounds, researchers have observed improvements in antioxidant defenses and favorable effects on metabolic markers. In earlier work, even relatively short periods of sage tea use were associated with reductions in fasting plasma glucose. That should immediately get the attention of anyone who has been told their numbers are a little elevated, worth monitoring, or not bad enough for medication yet. Because that gray zone is where so much preventable damage happens. When fasting glucose starts trending upward, people often focus only on diabetes risk, but that is too narrow. Elevated glucose affects the lining of blood vessels. It increases oxidative stress. It feeds glycation. It accelerates wear on connective tissue. It changes the internal environment in which collagen, elastin, and cellular repair are supposed to function. Sage appears to support the body at several of those pressure points. Its polyphenols and aromatic compounds are studied for antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. That matters because oxidative stress is one of the great accelerators of aging. It damages lipids, proteins, cell membranes, and DNA. It makes tissues behave older than they are. Now think about the skin. Aging skin is not merely dry skin. It is tissue under stress. It is collagen under attack. It is circulation that may be less efficient. It is a repair system that is not working with the same speed or abundance it once had. When you lower oxidative burden and support better metabolic balance, you are indirectly creating better conditions for the skin to maintain itself. The same logic applies to joints. Inflammation and oxidative stress do not remain politely confined to one region of the body. If the internal environment is chronically inflammatory, connective tissue feels it. If blood sugar is unstable, tissue recovery feels it. If circulation becomes less efficient, the joints and surrounding tissues feel it too. What makes sage especially compelling is that it supports the body without demanding complexity. It does not require a complicated protocol. It does not ask for a separate routine, a separate budget, or a separate identity. It simply asks for consistency. And there is something psychologically powerful about that, because one of the hidden reasons people give up on healthy habits is that those habits make them feel like patients. They feel managed, monitored, medicalized. Sage tea does not feel like that. It feels like something human beings have done forever. Take a useful plant, steep it, drink it, and let the body work with what nature has provided. To prepare sage tea, use 1 to 2 teaspoons of dried sage leaf or a small handful of fresh leaves in about 250 milliliters of hot water. Let it steep for 7 to 10 minutes. If the flavor feels strong at first, that is normal. Sage is more savory and robust than lemon balm or mulberry. It is not trying to be delicate. It tastes like it means business. The best time to drink sage tea is often mid-morning or early afternoon, especially if your goals involve blood sugar steadiness, post-meal control, and metabolic clarity. Some people also enjoy it after a heavier meal. If you want to build a powerful synergy, combine sage with a small slice of fresh lemon and a little rosemary. The flavor sharpens beautifully, and the aromatic compounds create a broader antioxidant profile that complements sage's strengths. And here is why sage takes the #1 position on this list. Because it feels like the leaf of self-respect. It is simple enough to use, strong enough to matter, accessible enough to sustain, and broad enough to support several of the most common aging concerns at the same time. Not overnight, not magically, but meaningfully. That is the word I want you to remember, meaningfully. Aging does not usually improve through one massive gesture. It improves through meaningful repetition. One better choice, done often enough, becomes biology. One cup becomes a routine. One routine becomes lower stress on the system. Lower stress on the system becomes better mornings, steadier energy, more graceful skin aging, and a body that feels more like an ally again. And that is what most people are really looking for. Not perfection, not youth, just the ability to feel at home in their body again. So let's take a breath and look at what we covered today. At number 5, olive leaf for inflammatory signaling and tissue protection. At number 4, mulberry leaf for post-meal blood sugar control and glycation defense. At number 3, lemon balm leaf for stress, mitochondrial resilience, and nighttime recovery. At number 2, bay leaf for insulin sensitivity, metabolic support, and accessible daily use. And at number 1, sage leaf for broad spectrum support across glucose balance, oxidative stress, and healthy aging from the inside out. Now I want to speak to you directly for a moment. You did not click on this by accident. You clicked because some part of you still believes, correctly, that the body can respond, that your mornings do not have to keep getting harder, that your joints are not obligated to become your enemy, that your skin is not merely cosmetic, but a reflection of deeper processes worth caring about, that blood sugar matters before it becomes an emergency, that small daily rituals can create real biological consequences. And you are right. It is not too late at 60. It is not too late at 70. It is not too late at 80. And it is certainly not too late to begin paying attention to what the body may have been quietly asking for. Your cells still respond to better inputs. Your blood vessels still respond. Your inflammatory burden can still shift. Your sleep can still improve. Your metabolic story is not over. That does not mean every herb is right for every person. It does not mean tea replaces medical care. And it absolutely does not mean you should ignore medications or advice from your physician. If you take blood thinners, diabetes medication, or have known sensitivities to any of these plants, speak with your doctor before making them a daily habit. But it does mean this: the body is not passive. The body is listening. And what you do consistently still matters. If this video gave you something valuable today, a new idea, a new question, or a new reason to believe that your best mornings may still be ahead of you, then subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with one person you care about, because too many people are suffering through unnecessary decline simply because nobody ever told them where to start. And before you go, I want to hear from you. Tell me your age, tell me where you are watching from, and tell me which of these 5 leaves you are most curious to try first. I read the comments, and your stories shape what I research and create next. Take care of yourself, take your body seriously, and never underestimate what a simple leaf prepared with intention and used with consistency can begin to change.